Welcome to the Coach Business Podcast. I'm your host, Caryn Gillen, and today we have a guest, but I'm thinking about we have a guest who has a lot of cool experiences that we are going to talk about how she has woven them together to create what sounds to me like fulfillment, but we'll check in with her about it. I want to welcome Jennifer Faherty to the podcast. Can you say hello and just say a sentence or two about yourself?
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Caryn. My name is Jennifer. I am a coach by training, but as Caryn had mentioned, my path to coaching really took a very circuitous route. Right now, I am running a business. It's called Psych Paper Press, and we develop planners and journals around positive psychology and well-being and the cognitive benefits of writing.
So
And I'm
good.
able to apply a lot of the tools and techniques and concepts that we learned in coaching to a planning journal business, which is something that was very unexpected for me.
Mm-hmm. I love this for so many reasons. One of the biggest ones is coaching can take so many forms. And you, more than a lot of people, have used coaching in so many different ways. So we're gonna get in and out of that in this session. But I think the thing that will be really interesting to start with is what you mentioned first, which is you had to really look at your plan and your financial plan and think through what is this business going to be. I think that's just a good, even though you maybe didn't do it at the foundation, I think as a
Mm.
foundation for this conversation, it would be helpful to start there.
Sure. So, for very many reasons, which we won't get into now, I was needing something else in my work. And just for background, I was working, and am still actually working in a wealth management firm. So I still have a role there. But I was searching for something else and, kept going through this kind of journey. Should I stay? Should I go? Should I kind of stay? Should I
Mm-hmm.
do something, a side business? Should I, or hobby? What was that? And that's kind of how we ended up working together as well. Um, but in that, all those confusing thoughts that I was having, I felt like I needed to just start to untangle them. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the ways I did that, in addition to working with you, was to do my financial plan. And as I mentioned, I was coming from the wealth management industry, so this is nothing new, but I hadn't done my own plan in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just brought so much clarity because I was able to really decipher for my next move w how much I really needed, money to be a factor and income and compensation to what I was doing next, and how much, was it not a factor? And that sounds
Right.
obvious. It sounds obvious, but to be honest, a lot of people really just need to put pen to paper or Excel spreadsheets, whatever you're using, and actually do that work because
Yeah.
otherwise you can make stories in your head around, you
It's an
know
awareness tool, which is so coachy, right? We have to see what we're actually dealing with.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it was very clarifying for me.
So as a someone in the financial space, just since we have you here, when do you
Mm.
think are the good time? Is it at every different change point in life? It's a good time to look at our financial plan, or what do you recommend?
Oh, well, I mean, as I'm not here as a financial planner, but I
Right.
definitely think that, for sure, you should do it just, regularly, say annually,
Okay.
but certainly with any big change
Cool.
that you might
Okay.
have. Absolutely.
So you bring in this plan, you figure out what do I actually need here? What is important about money here? What's important to me? What's not important? And you get at the end of it, you find clarity.
Yes. Well, not quite. I mean, it's just one factor, right?
Yeah.
It's one factor you can understand, how much does it impact? How much should it be, um, influencing your decision?
Right. Which I think about a lot. I just was on a consult call with someone right before this interview, and they had some really great questions that I'm like, I can't actually answer those for you because I don't know your financial situation. I don't know, what your goals are. But when we work together, that's something we can figure out. But some people don't need to make money for the next 12 months. Some people need to make money yesterday, right? Like, and every offer that we make and the way we consider business, all of those things play into that. So this makes a ton of sense to me.
We talk about this a lot, when it comes to coaching and when money specifically, and, words tossed around like abundance and scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what doing that exercise does is it just neutralizes things.
Right.
It makes it just as neutral as possible, and because money obviously does have a lot of triggering emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and the more you can kind of understand what's neutral, what's fact versus what's story, what's your emotion, you know, I think that
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
helpful for me.
I love it. So talk to us about how this Psych Paper Press came to be in your journey as a coach and everything that you've tried. How did we get here?
Oh gosh, we only have so much time, so I won't go through the whole, story, but I will say writing and journaling has always been a part of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
that was always there since I was a child. Um, and then what happened was there was almost like perfect storm in 2020. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
many of us can relate.
Everyone
Um,
had a storm, whether it felt perfect or not, that's up to you.
um, well, it was for me, it was not only what was going on globally with the pandemic, but then moving then to remote work from and then dealing with empty nester in I was at that stage
Mm-hmm.
of life. Many different factors, what I call it a perfect storm. There's so many things that happened around that time. I had running injury, and I used to run. I'm not like a great runner, but running was a little bit of my therapy, and I
Yeah.
couldn't run anymore. Um, so all these, stage of life, all these different things came together, and I just wasn't myself.
Yeah.
And Adam Grant coined the term
Mm-hmm.
languishing. He might not have been the first one, but more recently he kind of popularized it. And that's actually what I felt like. I was kind of languishing. I wasn't quite myself. I wasn't depressed clinically, but I was just like something was off. And
Yeah.
I happened to decide somehow, I guess through my coaching background, to take an applied positive psychology certification program at the
Mm-hmm.
University of Pennsylvania. It was a year-long course. And that just kind of started to awaken some things in me that kind of some of the coaching stuff, but in a different way was maybe left dormant. And I kind of paired that some with going back to writing because I was going through a lot of stuff and came up with kind of a planning tool that was really helpful for me, where
Mm-hmm.
I was using a lot of the concept I was learning in these courses, but trying to make it more of a habit. And in positive psychology, they call it actually positive interventions,
Mm,
similar to
yeah.
if you have an intervention, for what might be negative, traditionally negative or addictive behaviors. You could actually do interventions to make yourself feel more positive. And so I
Right.
was just creating these habits for myself to kind of get me back to just a feeling state that I was longing for, and I was doing it through writing. And then I decided just to do it on my own. It didn't really become a business till later, like a business idea
Mm-hmm.
till later. It really started more just as a personal kind of self-coaching, to be honest, in
Yeah.
our world.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a really good coaching experience that you directed for yourself. And now you're actually offering it in the form of a planner for other people.
Yes, exactly.
Great. So you have the cure for languishing. It's a planner. Fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to think of it as a cure. It's not, but for me, it was definitely a great tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I think is so fun about your story is all the different, and just so everyone's listening, we are going to give you a coupon code to get your planner. It's in the show notes, but we'll share that at the end. I want you to know you can go get one because I know how much coaches love them some planners. um, but your story weaves through like you've done coach training, you've been someone who journaled, you've created this basically self coaching planner. you've done coaching at work, you've done coaching of individuals, and now you're in this paper business. So, like, I would love to hear about your own kind of relationship to yourself through this winding
Hmm.
road of figuring out what kind of coaching is the kind I'm going to do, or how do I turn this into a business?
It's so hard, but I think, for all of us coaches, we always have to apply the tools to ourselves,
Yeah. Dang
before
it.
we can, or in addition, not even before, simultaneously as we create businesses or go out in the
Yeah.
world and do coaching as a profession. Um, you know, Starting off, I really didn't know what I was gonna do with coaching. I started off as a financial planner, as a CFP, and I thought I would be weaving coaching in there.
Hmm.
Still stay as a planner, but maybe be a financial coach, maybe not even call myself that, but just kind of weave coaching in there. And then as I got went through training, I was so excited about starting a business. I
Hmm.
really was. I loved the idea of entrepreneurship, and that was the model I really wanted to follow. And I tried it a little bit here and there. I wouldn't say I was completely committed,
Hmm.
so that could be a whole other podcast. I was really just kind of experimenting, but it was kind of always there. I kind of thought entrepreneurship, business of coaching was gonna be what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um, External circumstances led me to actually take an intern a role in corporate,
Hmm.
and, I was always kind of, what was the word? Kind of betwixt and between, I guess, always thinking the grass was always greener, you know, but I was trying to apply coaching internally and was able to do it in different roles. But I always thought like maybe the having an entrepreneurial kind of business would be kind of what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But I was in this corporate role, as I mentioned. And then my next move I thought was when I left that was going to be more of a traditional coach, having a coach business.
Hmm.
But the more I kinda sat with that, and I did some practice coaching on the side and, trying to get back into it. I was coaching a bit internally in my role. And just to give you some context of timeline, this was now, 6, 7 years had passed in between that. Um, it was not fitting, and I didn't know why, and I was kinda beating myself up for it.
Just didn't
Um
feel right.
It didn't feel right. I loved some of my coaching sessions, but it was like putting on a sweater that just shrunk.
Yeah, I don't
It
fit
just
here. Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't fit the way I thought it would or the way it kinda did, years before, and I needed to do some coaching, self-coaching and with you to really figure that out, to figure out
Hmm.
what was happening.
Right.
Um, long story short, through our work, I was able to then realize, oh, it actually could take a different form. And really, the thought that helped me the most, I think, was just take the next best step.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and this actually full circle comes to the idea of planning.
Right.
You know, I'm a planner. I was a financial planner. Now I'm creating plans
Hmm.
in a different way, journals, and plans. But um, you really should have a plan and then throw it out the window. Really, it's
Yeah, but to know where to take the next step to learn the next piece of
yes,
information to then get to throw out whatever your plan is.
right. It was really
Yeah.
just, part of me so wanted clarity over the next like whatever. I didn't even know how many years, but I wanted more of a clear,
Hmm.
roadmap. And I was having some of that, but what was really helpful was really just to have a clear next few steps.
Yeah.
By taking a little bit more of that path, I was able to find this, next step.
I want to just highlight what you just said for everybody because I think it's so nice to have the what I would call coziness of clarity, of certainty, of here's what life is going to look like for the next X number of years or months. Like we all want that. It's such a natural thing. But what you're saying is what I just see over and over and over again in my own business and then with everyone I'm working with is you make great plans and then you do one step and then you know why your great plan needs a tweak. And that doesn't mean anything went wrong. But
That's
like
right.
I think one of the more sad things is a really great plan that someone's beating themselves up with because they never took the first step to see what they would have to change to make it a great life instead of just a great plan.
That's
And
exactly
you did that. Like I think it's such a cool thing because we only can like go as far as we can see. Like I don't if you're a coach and you've trained to be a coach and you've seen everybody talk about this one-on-one coaching model, then the expectation in your mind is I will go create that thing.
right.
But you
Hmm.
went far enough and you drew enough of the strings of like clarity in your life together to be like, no, this is the thing that feels like home to me.
Hmm.
Just so cool.
Yeah, and I would say for now.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
you're going to grow and change. And so what you do will too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you have given yourself the freedom to say for now.
And even in talking with you right now, it's very similar. I'm just even recognizing this now with financial planning. I mean, you do a plan, but that's why you have to check in
Mhm.
regularly because you change and circumstances change, the markets change, the inflation, all those factors, whether they're internal or external, will change. So you have to check in and then figure out, now what?
Yeah. There's something about putting this coaching frame into a planner that I'm really digging and I'm curious if I'm right. Where a planner goes like every day passes and so you kind of have to move the next step. So inside of your planner do you have different things happening different days so there's kind of no way you can't get to the next phase of clarity or awareness inside of the planner use?
The planner is more geared towards positivity
Okay.
versus a lot of planners that are more towards productivity. So it does
Ah.
follow kind of a regular structure of it's 90 days. It's Monday through Friday is the core. The weekend format is a little different. Um, but it starts with really the five pillars of positive psychology, the five areas that researchers have agreed have created, thriving and well-being.
Mhm.
And so it's really just starting the day with those five bullet points, and then you have a regular schedule and to-dos after that. Um, and just for your listeners, the five are starting with a sentence about meaning and purpose, um, a s an area to write down a positive emotion that you wanna practice. What I love about that piece is a lot of planners have gratitude, and
Mhm.
I've had a gratitude journal, but after,
This is
like,
like
a
future
while,
gratitude.
and also after a while, I was saying the same things,
Mhm.
and I also wanted and listen, gratitude is a very important emotion, the research has proven that, but I also wanted to practice other emotions and other
Mhm.
and so
Right.
sometimes I'll put in joy or delight or silliness and, or something that I wanna kind of, dabble in that day.
Cool.
Um, there's an area where you put a flow activity, and that was an area flow was the area I was missing the most during that period of languishing.
Right.
Um, and also because of, one of our pillars of the new company is I feel like great things happen when you put pen to paper and in
Oh, I love that.
parentheses, meaning also when you're away from your computer and your phone. Um,
Uh-huh.
and kind of being on social media and being on my phone created kind of something in me psychologically where I wasn't in flow very much. I was constantly like distracted.
Yep.
So anyway, there's an area to put in a flow activity where you kind of lose a sense of time. There's a line where you put in someone you're going to connect to that day, and then an area for
Speaking
your.
of distractions,
I know. Excuse me.
here we are on computers getting distracted.
And anyway, so those five areas, and then and this is not this just doesn't sound like so earth-shattering, but one side of the page, instead of page numbers, I have a it's marked left L and R for your
Mm.
left brain and your right brain,
Oh, cool.
because the what I just described to you is kind of like the left brain. It's very prescriptive. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Put down your calendar, put down your appointments. Then I purposely made the right-hand side just dotted, and there's so many things I wanted to put there, like a habit tracker, your daily
Mhm.
water intake, all this stuff. But I was like, not everybody wants that. And I
Right.
and I wanted a space for you to do whatever you wanted. I
Mhm.
personally use it for journaling,
Mhm.
but I know other people who have used it doodle. Like my son's a big
Yeah.
doodle, like an artist, so he just,
Yep.
you know
The daily doodle.
exactly. If you want to put kind of more like if you're familiar with bullet journaling, a lot of, you can also use that space for that area and doing more indexing and bullet journaling. So anyway, it's kind of there for you to be creative and plan how you would like to plan.
I like it. Leave room. Leave room for greatness. Okay, my next question is more tactical. Is
Mm.
this thing in the UPenn bookstore yet? Can people buy it there? Because it seems like it should be.
Oh, well, that's a great idea. It is not, but next week I am traveling to the World Happiness Summit, which is taking place in Miami. So I'm
Beautiful.
excited to just connect with people who are in the space and see what else is, you know, happening, and what kind of organizations are doing the same kind of work, so we
Hmm.
can partner. But
I
I
love
will
it.
call you Penn just in case.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need it. This feels like an easy sale from that bookstore.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so you have taken, and this is what I think is interesting for all of us to remember, like coaching is a skill set. It doesn't have to be a profession in that I sit in my office and I coach people. Like no matter if you are managing people, if you are creating products, like we can bring coaching into everything and anything. And I really love your story as that, like, okay, I tried being a coach and then I tried being an internal coach and a coach in my own business. And now I'm coaching through products where I'm not even in the room with people, which I find so fun. Um, but there's so many ways we can make this work. And I think it's just a good example to see it can look so many different ways. Some people do it through retreats. Like the way that some of you listening might be the best coach ever is through something that hasn't even been created yet. And I can't wait to hear about whatever that is.
That is
Yeah.
so true. I mean, it is. It's a universal skill that everyone should be taught as
Hmm.
growing up in school, and then as you grow as in your whatever profession you are. There's so many different ways you can apply it. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah. So I have one kind of last question. I want wisdom from you for anyone who feels like life is just a little bit too small of a sweater right now, that they don't fit
Mm.
in what's happening for them. Like what do you recommend, or what would you share with them from where you are now?
You know what? I wish, and I was actually interviewed, and somebody else's one of a friend wrote a book on just leadership and life's lessons, and this is one thing I said. I wish I gave myself more grace.
Mm,
There was a lot, especially coming from where I was in terms of like being a coach and having the skills,
mhm.
and also
Right.
being a planner. Where I was really beating myself up a lot around, "Why don't I know this? Why can't I figure this out sooner?" Um, and wanting a plan or clarity now, like, right now. And
Mhm.
I think I just needed to take time to, again, sort through a lot of things, just pause, not
Yeah.
being okay in not having all the answers. And that's really what I it's just a lesson I learned. Having just the grace, and trusting the process, and
Mhm.
not beating yourself up, and than having something else to coach on, right? Um,
Right.
so I think that
Mhm.
that is definitely something that a lesson I've learned and will
Nice.
continue to learn, I'm sure.
Yeah. It seems like a good lifelong process.
Thanks.
Yeah. So where can people get this positivity planner?
Oh, sure. You can check it out on my website is psychpaper.com. We did create, for your listeners who want it. If you want to use the discount code, it's Coach Caryn. It's
Perfect.
so appropriate.
Thank you.
Or you can get 15% off. Um,
Nice. Thanks.
yeah, and also you can also find me on Instagram with the same name, Psych Paper.
Cool. Psych paper. All right. So to add more, if you're feeling like your life is too tight, it doesn't fit. If you're languishing, if you're just wanting to bring in more intentional positivity, this is the planner for you. Sounds like.
Yeah, it just helps, I think, um, to just reframe even a small thing like, again, practicing just a one positive emotion you want to practice that day, and or
Mhm.
again, connecting with one person, and it doesn't even have to be a new person every day. Sometimes I put in. It doesn't even have to be a person. Sometimes I put in my dog. It's
Nice.
just literally just being present, with a person, and it's just little
Mhm.
tips like that to just remind you to do on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing the how you took all of the pieces and parts of who you are and your history and turned them into the coaching business that fits for you. I think that's really cool.
Thank you so much for having me. It was
Yeah.
really a lot of fun.
Good. Okay. So, you know how after you have an interview with someone, you hang out and you talk for a second? Well, we were just doing that and we had to hit record again so that we can talk about alignment and intuition in this process of Jennifer finding her way in business. So, tell us that story.
Well, kind of goes back to what I mentioned about the coaching business so there's a part of me that really wanted to start a business, traditional business on just coaching clients one-on-one or group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it just when I mentioned the sweater just wasn't fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Another word to use, it just didn't feel like an alignment anymore.
Yeah.
And every time I was almost forcing it in many ways, and this is even after I had great coaching sessions. Like, I'd come out of a coaching session being really excited, but there's a part of me deep, deep in my belly that was almost like, and I don't know if your people can see me, if this is gonna be also on video, but where my hand is kinda up, where, like, something in me was, like, physically stopping me from
Yeah.
wanting to do that business in that
Mm-hmm.
form. And so going back to wisdom, I guess, is I think when you're really quiet and you really can tap into it, you know what the right next step is.
Yes. Yeah. And so you knew you had that feeling in you of like, this still, even though I'm great at it, even though it is amazing to do and it's fun, this isn't quite it. And it's okay to have those feelings. Like, it doesn't mean there's not anything for you. It's like, now the right thing isn't here yet for now.
Yes. Yeah.
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 And I would say listen to those even though on paper everything seems like it
Mm-hmm.
should be.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, we've all dated that guy who looks great on paper, but you're like, there's no way I can be with this guy. And it's the
exactly.
same with businesses.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you do, can it's important to go through the work, and if you can have a coach to sort through some things and make sure everything's clean, and, again, journaling or whatever you need to do, but then get to that place where, like, there's something in your gut you probably
Hmm.
that keeps coming back, listen to that.
You're right. Yeah. Because you're on the other side. You listen to that and you found like life, the sweater fits now.
The sweater fits now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Great.
absolutely.
Good. I'm
Me
glad
too.
we hit record
Thanks.
again so you could share that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay. So that was such a great example of like, there is no one right business for anybody. And if someone is trying to tell you there's a right business for you, they're right as long as they're not telling you how to do it. So like when you go and you're exploring, like, what do I want to do? What do I want it to look like? What do I want my offers to be? What do I want to try? You need to make sure you're exploring how all that works in a place that's big enough for you. This is the problem with a lot of the things that get sold online, like the cookie cutter approaches, or just come by my system and just do it this way and it will work for you because it worked for me. Like, that's not actually accurate, because if I'm not you, then I can't fit into a cookie cutter shaped like you, nor do I want to. Right. So, wherever you go to get support with your business, wherever you go to grow into the business owner that you are here to be, make sure that that space and that support and that playing field is big and broad and can hold all of you. And it's a safe place to play. It's a safe place to have experimentation and to flop and fail and to win big. You need to be able to, like, it needs to be big, guys, because there's so much more than just one way to get to success. Like, if the only thing you're going for is monetary success, go sell, like, go get a Subway franchise, right? You can do, there's lots of really easy ways to like plug money in and go make more money. But if you are one of these people who's like, I have a sense of what feels like alignment for me and this isn't it, and I want to go find out what is it, then go where you can play and go where you can be well supported when you do play, and no one's trying to put their way on top of you. Okay, that is my, it's really my why, actually, in some ways, for doing what I do as a business coach and a small business strategist for coaches. Is I want to find the way for you to do it your way, so that you don't become successful doing it someone else's way and then have to quit that, go through the process of recovering and gaining your self-confidence back, and gaining your rest back, and then getting up enough oomph to go at creation again and doing it your way. Because what I have seen, the pattern is, if people create success doing business someone else's way, there's always the other side of that coin, which is, now I have to stop that and figure out my way. Because inevitably, we're not going to want to go someone else's way for the entirety of our career. And if you have done that and you're coming back into yourself, like, what you really learn by going your way is you figure out what your guardrails are. You figure out how you like to do things. You figure out what's okay with yourself. And then you know how to take those skills that you have of being in relationship with yourself as an owner and a leader of a company, and you take those anywhere you go. Because once you learn that stuff, it's in you and it's about you. So it's always the right answer. If you get the guardrails from somebody else, you're doing it their way, in their comfort zone, about what they wanted to create, and you're learning how to be good at being someone else. And what sucks is that some of those things could be so far outside of your comfort zone that you're tanking your nervous system. It could be so outside of your values system that you're actually living your life against your own values, which is incredibly painful and damaging to you, if not your clients. So, I'm pretty into this thing, like, where you do it your way. If life coaching businesses had a slogan, I would be Burger King. You can have it your way. I can help you do that. And it's important that you do, because, in my opinion, we have too much other work to do. We do not have time to have to recover. So I am so excited for Jennifer that she has her way and it's what works for right now. And she also has that alignment and attunement to her own process and experience that will help her change later. If all of a sudden this isn't the way she wants to go anymore, she has everything she needs to just make that pivot and be with herself through the whole process. It's a beautiful thing. All right, go grab your planner. You get 15% off with the code Coach Caryn, and we'll put that in the show notes. And thanks for being here, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I would love it if you shared this episode with a friend who needs to hear it, who needs to hear that there are so many ways to do this right. Nobody gets an A unless they do it their way. Okay. All right. It's good to have you here today. Thanks for listening.